before. It's got my mind racing, thinking thoughts I shouldn't be thinking. So many things went wrong, so many friends have gone. I've been hurting for so long, for so long, but I won't give up, I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be so easy, I admit. I'm not built that way. So many I love that need me out. I wouldn't break their hearts or live in fear. Another day, and I'm still here. I pray it won't find me, but it snuck up behind me. Can't do what I want to, just trying to get through, because I love you. But I won't give up, I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be easy, Lord, I admit. I'm not built that way. So many I love that need me here. Can't break their hearts or live in fear. No, no, lessons I've learned, mistakes I can take back, won't do them again. Not that it matters now, won't leave you here, want to stay near, do all I hold dear. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Just try to forget, try not to lose my mind. Can't believe what you've done, you've made me so numb. I learned what not to become. Oh, oh. But I won't give up, I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be so easy, I
Hey, welcome everybody to Johnny Mo Straight Talk Podcast. I am Johnny Mo, retired Air Force, recovering alcoholic, suicide survivor, just trying to raise awareness of the transition struggles that us veterans go through and the good we do when we finally figure out how to help ourselves. Today's guest is Bill Bailey. I met Bill through a friend of a friend of a friend and did his podcast a couple weeks ago, Today's Boondoggle. Bill has graciously agreed to come on mine today because he had nothing going on for about 90 minutes. So he said, I'll come in and sit on yours. Man's busier than I am, I think. Bill is retired Navy. He was a F-14 Brown shirt. If you guys all know what that means, he was attached to the Teddy Roosevelt in VF-84. Then he did some reserve time and finished up his time in DFAST, which is Defense Finance and Intel. He is the host of Today's Boondoggle, and please welcome Bill Bailey. What's up, Bill? Thanks, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man, no problem. I appreciate it. I know we talked about it when you were on mine, and it's kind of, what the veteran community likes to do, support each other and, raise awareness. So
Exactly. And Bill is being paid absolutely nothing for this. So
yeah, just free publicity,
free
hopefully I get more
publicity.
listeners over at the Boondoggle and after.
That's
But,
it. That's it. So you're out of Cleveland right now. Did you grow up in Cleveland?
Yeah. Well, North Olmsted is a suburb,
Yeah.
west side of Cleveland, and grew up there, went to graduated high school from there. And
So how'd you get Navy from Cleveland? Like the only thing up there that I know of is that one submarine ship that like, how did you get Navy?
well, when I ended up coming to the reserves back in the day, they used to have a reserve center right there next to that submarine. And now the Coast Guard runs that whole area, that whole inlet there. But it used to be a Navy reserve center there, and our assault craft units were there and everything.
Oh, I didn't know that. Just in case Canada attacked, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
Across
yeah.
Lake Erie. So, my dream was always to be in the Air Force and be a pilot. Ended up, I couldn't do it due to my eyesight. I know how exciting my time was on the flight line with the F4s and the A10s and a little bit of with the F16s. That F-14 is bigger than all of those that I worked on, and loaded down looks absolutely ominous. Tell me that was not one of the greatest times in your life.
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. It was I forget like when exactly Top Gun came out, but I'm sure it was close to that time period, the original, and sure it was close to that time period. But I originally didn't have intentions of joining the Navy. I was going to go into the Marines. I think similar to like your story, and I was in their delayed entry program, and as we'll probably get into, I'm sure my early signs of alcoholism and dumb decisions reared its ugly head, and I got in some trouble, which made the papers. And my Marine recruiter was like, "You ain't joining my Marines." And
Oh, geez.
yeah, and so then I was like, because my dad was a Marine in World War II, and always we kind of always look up to our fathers and stuff, and flaws and all or whatever, as our heroes.
Right.
And so I wanted to, I wanted his blessing. I was always searching for his approval, to earn his respect. So the Marines, I figure I'd become a Marine like he was, and then I effed that up, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'm never going to get it. And I was pretty depressed. And that's probably where early signs of some of the suicidal ideations would come in too, that we'll get into. But luckily I had some friends that already had signed up for the Navy, and they took me to their recruiter. And the Navy was more like lenient for people that get involved in alcohol related incidents. I just had to talk to lieutenant, which back then I thought was like, really
A big deal.
big deal, and say, I won't do it again. And it was like a phone call, like the recruiter puts them on and I'm on the phone. I'm like, I promise, I won't. Okay.
Good
And then
enough.
the recruiter signs me up and I'm off, to the branch that is known for, drinking and debauchery.
Oh, I think we're all known for that in some ways. I mean, you heard the story of all my Air Force guys and the Brits in that hooch in Turkey just deciding to piss their pants. I
Yeah.
mean, who the hell does that kind of stupid shit?
Us.
Us, right? Us. Well, I just want to be clear for the record. I did not piss my pants that night, but I cannot confirm nor deny the individuals I may or may not have been with that evening.
I know, when I would be out drinking and partying, there was no intentional for shits and giggles to piss my pants, but it may have occurred, unintentionally sometimes.
My big deal was blacking out and throwing up. I like to throw up anywhere I went. So I'd like to say I've thrown up on like 17 different countries and 3 continents from my alcoholism.
I partook in some of that as well.
Right. So you joined the Navy. Where you go active duty wise? Where were you?
Well, after I finished boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois, my first duty station and set of orders was to Virginia Beach, to Oceana, NAS Oceana and Virginia Beach, to the VF-84 F-14 squadron, Jolly Rogers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was, it was definitely, if I wish I would have appreciated it as much at that young age as I do looking back today, because who knows, I may have stayed active for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how good I had it with the air division compared to the boat division, the deck division and stuff like that. I mean, our officers were cool. They were laid back. You could call them by their call signs. It wasn't all uppity and you'd get a couple snobs, but majority of them were just like super cool, man. And you took that crap for granted,
Yeah. Jolly Rogers is a historical unit too, right?
Oh yeah.
That's been around a long time. They've taken part in a lot of operations.
They're in the movie, The Final Countdown too. If you remember that movie with the aircraft carrier that goes through the black hole or whatever thing and travels back in time. They were in that.
That would be the Jolly Rogers. Yep. They are pretty incredible. A great unit. So how long did you stay there in Oceana?
Oceana, let's see, probably about 2 years. I originally, when I signed up, I was in that delayed or that apprenticeship program. Back then they offered, and it was like 2 years active, 6 years reserve. And during the course of the 2 years, you could have re-enlisted to stay active duty, have that option. And I was given that option, but our career counselor was kind of like just bad timing, and he wasn't really a hard charger. And I'm sure if I had the right motivator, I might have been convinced to stay in, but it was like, somebody like to get me out of my head and my resentments, because the point they asked me was during one of a really shitty part of the deployment, oh, you're about due. I better start asking you now when everybody hates life right now,
Right.
I'm just like, fuck this. I want out,
Where were you deployed?
We were in the Med, and when we were over there, they had that was when the time when George Bush Sr. was like threw up, from food poisoning, or they said they tried
on the Chinaman.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they tried to turn it into Saddam's people poisoned him.
Yeah, I remember. Now. Yeah.
Saddam's people tried poisoning him, and we all bought into it. And next thing I know, we're on our way to Spain in the middle of the night, and then the friggin' carrier does an about face, and we end up having to go through the Suez Canal and into the Red Sea to enforce the no-fly zone, which Probably, they left with a lot. All I know is our jets left with a lot of armament and came back empty, so I
Yep.
don't know how they enforced the no-fly zone over Iraq, but we're doing some shit. All I know is I never got to go to Spain. I'm still a little bitter about that.
You're a little butthurt about having to turn around on your way to Spain. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody, we're going to Spain. We're going to spend a week just sitting there. No, we're not. We're going to Saudi, going to Turkey, going to Iraq. Have a fun time. Yeah, been there, man. Been there. You take off leaving Incirlik. You think you're going to stop in Rota, Spain. You end up flying all the way through to freaking Germany. Your airplane breaks. You're there for 3 days. Yeah, I get it. Plans always change.
Yeah, it was like, I heard it was like on paper, our deployment was supposed to be like, like almost a luxury cruise line type thing, with all these ports that we were supposed to hit. But then we were like, I don't know if like we were the test subjects to see how long they could just keep us out without hitting ports, because we ended up having like some shit go down that we like 90 days, I think we were out before hitting any ports, and they had to have a Steel Beach picnic for us, to
What's that?
When you basically have a day off of no ops, and they serve you some food and you get a ticket for 2 beers on the carrier, and I ended up getting somebody else's ticket too, so I ended up getting 4. But and then I was like, whoa, look out. But
Right.
but yeah, it was they did that to kind of like, okay, well, we're not hitting any ports, and they gave us whatever reasons we didn't hit our first port, but we know the natives are getting restless, so here you guys go.
Hey, I get it. Sometimes all it takes is a down day and a couple
Yeah.
beers. It sounds ridiculous. Like, we're a grown men and adults, and we should be able to handle our own alcohol. But you and I both know that more often than not, when you give us free reign, we will take every bit of it, and we
Yep.
will overuse it and overindulge. And that leads to personality conflicts, which leads to fights, which leads to alcohol related incidents, which they're just trying to control everything. And I understand. And there's going to be some people that slip a couple extra drinks from a couple buddies, or guys that don't drink and their drinks off. I can't say that I've never been not part of that either direction. So I understand. I get it.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, the thing was, back then I think I was 19,
Right.
and no one was like, karting or anything, during the Steel Beach picnic. And then when we hit port, different set of rules over there in some of those countries. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I thought I was one of the big boys,
Didn't happen. So you went straight to the reserves then after your deployment. And you were part of an assault craft unit out of Cleveland. So did you
Yeah.
deploy any more after that over the next, what'd you have, 15, 18 years?
Yeah. We were our home base or whatever for our unit, our active component, was in Little Creek, Virginia. And so we would do like, we would get how everybody would get like the 2 weeks annual training a year
Sure.
or whatever. Well, we had the opportunities to do more because of our skill set, so
Right.
never really, this was all pre 9/11. So it was more like, hey, let's sign up and do this. So let's sign up and do that, and we're keeping our skills sharp, but we're actually like kind of going on vacations, and we work hard, but then we party hard afterwards. And
Yeah, you party
different
twice as
locations.
hard. Yeah.
And there was more availability. There was more funding back then for units such as ours to go do such things,
I agree. I understand it. I can't remember how many deployments I did on active duty over 10 years. I think it was like 7, 8. I don't remember. Because I turned around so much with AWACS. It was home, gone, home, gone, home, gone. And I don't remember, how many times I did that. Hell, my neighbors had power of attorney on my house, my checking account, and my truck. They paid all my bills and fed my cat while I was gone. I didn't I did 279 days my last year active duty out of 365. I was away from home station. So I understand the whole getaway and money for things. You know, when I was in the reserves, I was in the C-130 unit out of Youngstown, and I always had more time because you always have to fly. You have to stay current. You have to have X amount of things, X amount of airdrops, X amount of low vis. You're always flying, right? Or low level and night vision and aided and unaided. There's all these things to track. So yeah, in the reserves, I think I did more time essentially active than I ever did as a straight reservist.
And I remember too, when I was still active with the fighter squadron, like you were saying, it's like the pilots always had to keep their, their time and,
Currency.
Flight. Yeah. So, they needed us to, be there for the, to set them up and set them off and take them back and all that stuff. So I think that was another thing back then. It was just like, I'm working like, 12 on, 12 off or something like that, or whatever kind of shifts, for the air wing division. And then I became friends with the guys that worked in like admin and intel, and they're knocking off at noon, and I'm like, what are they, what's going on? How do I get into that? And that's kind of when I like cross rated before I left active duty to, and I got, security clearance and all that good stuff. So I could, so I thought I would be getting an easier deal, but of course then, after 9/11 happened, it all came back,
Little did we know.
Yeah.
Little did we know. Well, that's funny because I got married in 2000. I'd been out for 6 months from active duty. And hold on, I'm sending you another invite for later on.
Oh, time flies when you're having fun, huh?
I know, right? It's crazy. So 9/11, let's see, June of 2000 is when I got married. And then my wife was like almost immediately, you're not liking this civilian life. Why don't you go back in? So I started looking for, active duty slots, and they're not going to take it back. And they're going through this drawdown, and, 9/11 hadn't happened yet. And I'm still trying to find something. Finally, the reserve says, yeah, we'll take you back. Electronic warfare. You don't have to go back to school. You get to keep your rank. I'm like, all right, it's a reserves. Fuck it. It's a couple $100 a month and 2 weeks a year. Great. Let's do it. And at least I'll have that for me. Right. Well, the weekend that I was supposed to take my physical was the weekend before 9/11. And it's the end of the fiscal year. So the first weekend is September. If they don't have money, they just don't pay you. They don't bring you in. So they didn't have any money. They didn't have any docs to do a physical. So I had to wait till October. Well, 9/11 happened that Tuesday. They called me up on Wednesday, or no, the next week they called me up because everything was shut down. They called me up the next week and said, you need to be here the next weekend, and we're going to get you in that weekend. And I was in that next weekend of drill, which was the first weekend in October. And my first active drill was November of 2001. And I ended up doing 14 more years in the reserves and 4 deployments with them, and then I flew for 8 years, so flying for 8 years with the Air Force. I was gone every month, it seemed. And conveniently, we'd always go to like Florida or Virginia Beach or Tybee Island in the middle of winter from Ohio. So
yeah,
we always take the good trips. But hey, so you're doing 14, 15 more years in the reserves. Did you do any deployments as a reservist?
Yeah, that the one that the last one I did was after I got into DFAS. And this was after 9/11. And this is when they would just like, I think it was like individual augmentees, they called it, where they would like, they'd have certain missions and they just handpick certain people, so it's like, you wouldn't even go with your unit. You'd kind of just like be sent
Fill a
with,
slot. Fill
fill a slot. And then, but thankfully, like the military is, it's easy to start forming bonds with, strangers that are over there doing the same shit you are, enjoying this suck with you. you
Yep.
know, and it was funny. I was just talking to a couple of friends yesterday because we're like setting up a reunion in Dallas this year for that particular deployment. And I'm like, you know what? My kids are out of high school now. I'm going to start taking some of these trips and reconnecting with some people, you know?
Hell yeah,
So,
get on it.
looking
It's
forward
gonna
to
be
it.
like you guys, it's gonna be like you guys have been together the whole time. You know, you form
Yeah.
bonds with individuals that just never go away. Never go away. So you get back out of that deployment. You met a funny individual on that last deployment, you said, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But when you transitioned out, did you did you have a civilian job? Were you concerned at all about having any adverse effects, or had you been institutionalized? Were you afraid to retire, or were you ready to go and thought everything was going to be great?
Yeah, like during that phase of my service, being reserves, yeah, I was working UPS, I ended up you know, getting a job there and started as a package handler in the building and stuff like that. Worked my way up to driving the package cars, the big brown trucks, driving around
Oh
delivering and
wait,
stuff like
did
that.
did you get to wear the shorts with the socks and the big boots?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
Oh,
all
you're so
that.
sexy.
It's like they're like, here I am wearing another uniform, but this one really looks like shit. and and it was just like, there were some days I was just like, I looked forward to when I got orders to go away.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was like
I'm
I got
sure.
treated better, going off to, train for war than I did driving, delivering some of those packages. It felt like
Oh,
some
I
days.
bet. I bet. So you didn't think you were going to have a struggle. It was just like I quit a second job and this is all I'm going to have.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would still be doing that, but the last deployment ended up being a little bit more than, taxing on the body and the mind um
Why is
than
that?
you thought it would be.
Why is that?
Um well, what's funny too is like, there was a lot of undiagnosed stuff from my first deployment, at 19 years old, seeing a guy get, blown off the side of over the side of the aircraft carrier in front of you, and then kind of almost being left behind. And that kind of, jacked me up uh, at 19 years old. I mean, there's kind of like more to the story. I see the clock's ticking though. I don't know if I should start getting
No,
into it
no.
now or.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get into the story of you watching a guy get blown overboard. It was on a Teddy Roosevelt, I take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we'll take a break. We'll come right back and we'll get into that. Get yourself straight and your mind ready to talk about this. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. And then what
All
I got
right.
to.
Feeling down. Never felt this down before. It's got my mind racing, thinking thoughts I shouldn't be thinking. So many things went wrong. So many friends have gone. I've been hurting for so long, for so long. But I won't give up. I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be so easy, I admit. I'm not built that way. So many I love that need me here. I wouldn't break their hearts or live in fear. another day, and I'm still here. I prayed it won't find me, but it snuck up behind me. Can't do what I want to, just trying to get through, because I love you. But I won't give up, I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be easy, Lord, I admit. I'm not built that way. So many I love that need me here, can't break their hearts or live in fear. No, no, lessons I've learned, mistakes I can take back, won't do them again. Not that it matters now, won't leave you here, want to stay near to all I hold dear. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Just try to forget, try not to lose my mind. Can't believe what you've done, you've made me so numb. I learned what not to be